CT. Morning. How you feeling, Grandpa?
Oh, okay, CT. Better. Thanks.
Still here? I was hoping this was a bad dream.
Oh, I dreamt about our whale all night.
Oh, yeah.
Is that the whale you tagged?
Yeah. We picked up his signal last night while you were asleep.
I guess she's gone.
Smart whale. I wish I was gone from this place.
You better figure out where this place is.
That's going to be a problem, though. All the navigational instrument got pretty well busted up.
Well, our last fix was right here. The storm blowing us this way. Where's that large-scale chart?
Yeah.
Did you draw that circle?
Yeah, I think that's where we are.
Let's take a look.
See that small island off to the right?
So one you think is this one?
Yeah. And that one's that one, over there behind those trees.
And this circle spot's where you think we are.
Yeah, right there in that cove.
Seal Island looks like it. Nice work.
Thanks.
Looks like we're on Seal Island. Well off the shipping lanes. Not much chance of being sighted or picked up here. We're gonna have to get ourselves out of here without help. It means we better get to work on Mimi. First thing we have to do is plug that leak.
We did that already.
Well, we better pump her out then.
We did that too.
She floats at high tide.
But every time the tide goes out, she's on her side. So we better move her to deeper water.
Mean you haven't done that too? Come on. Watch out for this end, eh? Okay, starting in and in. Keep it coming. Slack it off slowly. Get that right out. Keep her going.
How come we can't sail her without the bowsprit?
You can't control her without a jib. It'd be too dangerous.
And there's no chance we can get the engine started?
Afraid the flooding took care of that.
I'm thirsty.
Big people come first, huh? What's wrong?
Taste it.
Oh, salty.
Right. Think we got a problem.
Seawater must have gotten into the tanks during the storm. It's too salty to drink. Anybody find any water yesterday?
Nothing. Nope, nothing.
Well, we can't count on another rainstorm right away.
So what do we do?
We better find some. Well, you know that caulking job you did on Mimi?
Yeah?
It was nice work.
Thanks.
Hey, you really know your way around these woods.
Yeah, well, spent a lot of time in the woods back home.
This place gives me the creeps.
You're kidding.
No, I'm not kidding. You don't know what could be in here. Mountain lions.
Wildcats, maybe.
What about rattlesnakes?
Not likely.
Not likely. Oh, that's just great. Not likely. Suppose you're not scared of anything.
Yeah. Cities. No. I was afraid when my grandpa almost died. Anyway, there's nothing on this island but birds, maybe a few small animals.
And if we're lucky, water.
Yeah.
The only thing we found was a big spruce tree to make into a new bowsprit. But we'd all die of thirst before we got it cut down and out of the woods.
Oh, come on, Rachel.
Well, nobody found any water, so isn't that what we're up against? Isn't it?
We'll find water. How long can somebody last without water?
It varies. A week, maybe more, maybe less.
You lose a pint a day just sweating and breathing.
CT, what are you doing?
Just getting a drink.
Not seawater.
I thought maybe I could get used to the taste.
Doesn't have anything to do with taste. The salt will dry you out. Don't anybody try that. You'll die of dehydration.
Well, if it doesn't rain, that's what's going to happen to us anyway.
Rain. If we could build a still, we could use all the salt water.
What's a still?
It's the thing you use to purify water.
You heat the water until it turns into vapor, and that leaves the salt behind. And then you cool the water vapor down until it turns back into water.
Hey, you guys! Come look at this!
Where'd it come from? Dew?
Oh, well, it's like dew. It's condensation.
That's it. We can use the sun to heat the tea water.
Of course, a solar still.
All right.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Now, we'll put the salt water in here.
In the sand?
Oh, keep fine.
We're going to spread plastic over it.
Is this really going to work?
Of course it is.
Are you sure?
No.
Make them very tight.
Is that good?
Got the rocks.
Oh, I got the bag.
What are we going to do with them?
I don't know. Ask Sally Ruth. What's the point of the garbage bag?
The dark plastic of the garbage bag will absorb the heat, make the evaporation go quicker.
Oh.
You ready to fill her up?
The energy of the sunlight will go through the plastic and heat the water, and the warm water will evaporate.
But not the salt, right?
Right, just the water. When the water vapor rises and hits the plastic, it'll cool enough to turn back to water. The drops will fall down the sides and we'll collect it there, in the pan. If it works.
Oh, let's hope it will.
look at all that water. We did it.
No, first to you.
First to the inventor.
Great work, you guys.
Hey.
Oh, good.
Good.
Hey! We still won't make much water. We have to ration ourselves very carefully.
It's more of that plastic on the boat. What do you say you put together a couple of more of those outfits?
Let's go.
Hey, you guys, come here.
Hey, Arthur's got something on the radio.
Pon, 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 pon. Hello, all stations. This is United States Coast Guard Communication Station, Boston. Quote, Maine, Gulf of Maine. The 72-foot sailing vessel Mimi is reported overdue on a trip from Rockland, Maine, and return. Vessel Mimi is a 72-foot catch-drake sailing vessel, red hull, 7 persons in crew. Report all sightings to U.S. Coast Guard, Boston. Break. This is United States Coast Guard Communication Station, Boston. Out.
For the searching for us?
Possibly. Arthur, can you transmit?
Not yet. It's only half fixed. The listening half.
Pon, 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 pon. Hello, all stations. This is United States Coast Guard Communication Station, Boston.
Said believed missing.
They better believe it.
They might think I've drowned.
Who?
My parents. All our families, they might think we've all died at sea.
Yeah, and the only ones who know we're okay is us. Water, water everywhere, but not a drop to drink. Hi, I'm Ben Affleck, and those are lines from a poem called Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. They pretty well describe the situation of the Mimi crew on that island, and they could also describe the situation for this town. The town of Greenport on the tip of Long Island, New York, has a problem. Even though they're surrounded by water, they don't have enough. Not enough drinking water, anyhow. About half the towns in our country get their water by digging wells. If you dig down deep enough, you'll find water almost anywhere. The layer of underground water is called the aquifer. But Greenport's aquifer has become polluted by a chemical pesticide used on local potato fields. Also, when the population increases in the summer, so much water is taken from the aquifer that the salt water from the sea begins to seep in. Many people in the town have begun to buy their drinking water. It's a serious problem. Dr. Ted Taylor may have a solution. He's a physicist who once spent his time designing atom bombs. Now he works on more constructive projects, like using what he knows about the physical properties of water to help a town in trouble.
Well, we know that Greenport needs more fresh water.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a potential huge source of water right here, and that is offshore. We've got Long Island Sound, and we've got the Atlantic Ocean on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one way that was been used for a long time to get seawater turned into fresh water, and that is to use the fact that when the vapor comes off, the vapor is pure water, if it's condensed on something like that that's cold,
Oh, that's neat.
that condensed water is distilled water and it's pure. But there's another way that uses a change in the physical form of water to purify it, and that is to freeze it, at least partly, into a sort of a sherbet-like material, and then let it drain.
I believe that Ted must know what he was talking about, but I still didn't understand how freezing water could purify it. He explained that when water freezes, its molecules bond together in crystals, and, as he put it, they're very fussy about letting other kinds of molecules in.
When the temperature gets low enough, they lock together these molecules that form a crystal. But it's a very special pattern of crystal into which almost nothing else fits. So that when the crystals come together...
Oh, everything else will be pushed out.
Everything else is pushed out. Now, we can do all this right here in this kitchen.
Ted mixed up a quart of water with about the same concentration of salt as seawater. He also added some food coloring to prove that his method would get rid of practically anything in the water.
When you freeze water, it pushes everything out except water, water molecules, food coloring, pesticides, salt.
But a popsicle is just frozen sugar water, isn't it? And it has coloring in it.
Well, if you hold a red popsicle in a room like this that's warm and watch it melt, most people don't do this, they eat the popsicle. If you watch it melt, when it's melted down about halfway, you'll see on top there's some white crystals, and those white crystals are pure water in a popsicle.
In a frozen popsicle, the coloring is pushed out of the crystals, but because all the water is frozen, it's trapped between the crystals and doesn't have any place to go. As some of the ice crystals melt, the coloring is released and can drain out. A couple of hours later, the salt water was red slush. Since most of the water was frozen, the salt and food coloring were still trapped between the ice crystals. Ted spooned it into a strainer, and we left it to drain for a while. The change was amazing. The drained water was dark red and very salty, and I tasted the ice crystals on top.
Doesn't taste like much, but it doesn't taste like salt.
No, the salt's pretty well drained down, and at this scale, we know it works. The question now is, will it work on a scale big enough to really begin to solve Greenport's water problem? That means not a few inches, but 10, 20, 30, 40 feet.
The next step from the kitchen experiment was a large-scale model. That's the real test. Ted's experiment is a couple hundred yards from Long Island Sound. It's a 3-foot deep pit, 70 feet square. His idea is simple, but not as simple as I thought. He doesn't just fill the pit with water and wait for it to freeze. He shoots the water into the air with fire hoses first.
Wow.
If you just filled the pit with water, it would take a long time to freeze, because only the surface of the pond would be in contact with cold air. By breaking the water up into tiny droplets and shooting it through the air, you can cool the water very quickly.
The windshield's coming over. To get this on, Ben, we're going to have to change these nozzles to a long, harder spray to keep the stuff from blowing back. We're getting much too much here. You know how to do this?
Yeah,
You come over here and you turn it like that.
Uh-huh.
You get that one and I'll get the other two, okay?
Okay.
Aim them out and up, but not too far.
There's a drain in the bottom of the pool for the real salty water to go. When almost all the salt is drained away, the drain is closed. What's left is pure water and ice for Greenport's water supply.
Okay, let's get on this side.
It's hard to do.
Turn over.
The water comes out of the fire nozzle at around 36 degrees Fahrenheit and cools to the air temperature by the time it lands. This day it was 28 degrees, and all that cooling is done free by nature.
So this saves a lot of energy, too.
And that's the whole point. If we had to pay for the energy that it takes to freeze the droplets, then the fresh water from this whole process would cost 5 or 6 times what people are willing to pay for fresh water now. The energy cost of doing this is very low because we're using nature to do the fluid. We expect to be able to build up a pile about 30 feet high, wow, 70 feet across, real mountain of ice made from seawater here.
While we waited for some of the ice to melt so we could test the sample, Ted took me down to Long Island Sound to see where he gets the seawater.
Sure, we had a big drop in the pressure at the pump.
His colleague, Nancy Schneider, was supervising some work on the intake pipe.
You see what we've got here, Ben? We've got this blue pipe, which is how we pick up the water to take it up to the ice pond.
Oh, wow.
Oh, here's your problem. Seaweed. Kelp.
A lot of it?
A little bit.
Okay.
I'll check, make sure all's secure.
Why don't you check all the seams, every seam, all the way out? They pretty tight.
Okay.
A few hours later, the sun had melted some of the ice, and it was time to take a sample for testing. The moment had come to find out if Ted's idea could solve Greenport's problem. The instrument that we use to test the sample is called a conductivity meter. It can instantly tell you the amount of salt or other dissolved solids that are in the water. It does it by sending a tiny electric current through the sample. The more salt in the water, the better it conducts electricity. First, he showed me how much salt was in the original seawater.
Hey, we off scale. Okay, do it again.
Seawater was so salty it went off the scale at first. Ted adjusted the meter, and we discovered there were almost 30,000 parts of salt for every 1,000,000 parts of water.
Okay, now's the time for the crucial test. Go over there and get that sample, and pour it in here and see what we've got.
Now our sample was melted. Would all Ted's work pay off? Was the experiment a success? We were about to find out.
Now this is the crucial test. We've got the sample in there. Push the button and see what we've got.
All right.
Wow. Holy mackerel. That's...
What is...
Have we got it on the right scale?
Yeah.
That's 35 parts per million. We started with almost 30,000 parts per million.
That's
with the seawater.
1,000th of what it was. Oh man, just from freezing it, you got it down so much.
This is probably the purest water in Greenport, except for this stuff which you buy in the grocery store. This is a big day. You're seeing the first time that a lot of water has been gotten from seawater by this process.
Congratulations. Looks like this town's water crisis might be solved. 35 parts per million is about 10 times better than what the government recommends for drinking water. Towns like Greenport are lucky that Ted Taylor's doing the work he is. In fact, in some ways, we're all lucky. Before I left, I got a chance to talk to him about what he does and what he used to do. After Ted studied nuclear physics, he got a job at Los Alamos Laboratories, designing atomic bombs. He was only 25, but he got to work with some of the top scientists in the world.
It was enormously exciting because we were dealing with really the most potent forces in the universe. There's nothing like the nuclear explosion of an atom bomb that we know of anywhere in the universe.
And why did you decide to stop making bombs?
Well, the question is, why would somebody spend their time working on something, the purpose of which is to kill as many people as possible? Why are you doing that? My parents used to keep asking me that. They didn't like what I was doing. They came from a pacifist family, actually. So my answer was, we're making war impossible by making these bombs so destructive that war just is meaningless. And then the Korean War broke out in 1953, and proved we were wrong. So I left Los Alamos with a sense of having done something that I even then thought maybe I would feel better about not having done.
Really? Do you regretted it, sort of?
Yeah, even in those days. I certainly do now. I wish I'd spent my time doing something more constructive. I decided about 10 years ago that, as far as I was concerned, I wanted to work on things that, if done, wouldn't make anything more dangerous or more hazardous, but would be fun to do, worthwhile, interesting, and of some benefit to quite a few people. And working on ice ponds, I think, is just as much fun as anything else I've ever done. I'm sort of satisfied with thinking of doing that for, what, another 20 years or so, and then maybe folding my tent.
Because of the success of Ted's method, the town of Greenport hopes to build an ice pond 10 times bigger than the experimental one. Maybe the people of Greenport can soon drink the water that now surrounds them.